Ah, hi, everyone.
Good morning, good evening,
Yeah,
good afternoon.
whatever time it is, wherever you are. Good to see so many of you.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi from Switzerland. Hi, Andrea. Athena, hello. Alexia, hello, hello.
Hello. Okay. For those of you that want to just remind some team members to jump in, tonight we're really talking about, I guess, our experience in Egypt and a bit of the journey of coming here, why I came here. I know why
Yes.
you come here, but why I came here. And just some of, I guess, the threads of curiosity that I chose to follow and how I ended up finding a lot of parallels with Luma Vitae.
It's quite remarkable.
Yeah, that would have been one of the biggest things that I've had from this experience of being in Egypt for the last week with Corrina. And as I said, coming with no expectation other than leading with curiosity, which is actually how I always lead and how I always have led my life, which is to be open-minded and to follow those threads that you sometimes get. And so
honestly, that's what brought me to Egypt to begin with many years ago.
Brings us to all the things, right? It's what brings to all the opportunities is just the openness to be like, what's this thread of curiosity that I have? I have this little pulling on this moment right now. So we'll be going through some of those. In fact, this is probably going to end up becoming a 2 or maybe even a 3-part little series that we will put on. Tonight, we'll go through much more around the experience, I guess, that we had here. And again, talking to a lot of the parallels to Luma Vitae and a lot of the interesting things. And then potentially in the next one, we'll go a little bit more deeper into some of the technology that was really cool here. And then even deeper into the codes of feminine leadership. Now, I am very aware that I'm sure we might have a couple of incredible men with us here as well. But I would have to say that that was also one of the things that became really apparent for us here, or for me anyway, in Egypt, was really, the feminine leadership and how they led with such power and grace. So I will, Cindy, make you a co-founder, co-host. If I can find you again. Where are you? There you are. Awesome. And you know what? We open to questions as well around the space.
Are we recording?
We
are. Okay. Just checking.
Recording. Okay. So I guess we'll kick off.
Let's kick off.
All right. So welcome to our Elevate call for our Wednesdays. I have put into the chat just to remind you that Tuesdays we have our discovery calls and Wednesdays we have Elevate calls. The first Wednesday of the month is our corporate connection, where I will really update you on everything that's happening with Luma Vitae, whether there's new products, whether there's like incentives or anything like that. So that's just a reminder. By the way, I hope you're all enjoying the Luma Vitae app as well. So there's lots of info inside of there. By the way, who has downloaded the app and who is already using the app? Who's loving the app and what it is? You love the app. Awesome. Awesome. Love it. Awesome. Good. Yes, yes, yes. You haven't used it yet.
No.
Because she's been very occupied. But I know you're gonna you'll jump in there.
It's beautiful
as well. Yeah. Lots and lots of interesting things in there. What I love probably most about the app, for anyone that's ever scheduling meetings around the globe, you know how tricky it is to get the time zone right, because also things change all over the place. So the nice thing with the app is that you have the ability to link it with your calendar and it's going to be in your time zone.
That's really good. You'll never miss a call.
Awesome. All right, so let's dive into Egypt and the journey to Egypt and what was felt, uncovered, and remembered in this space. So as you all know, Corrina often, well, every year does these beautiful trips to Egypt, which are for her part of your own awakening even, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I've had a call to go to Egypt since I awakened, and it was actually the very first thing that I was shown was to go to the Great Pyramids like a decade ago. And it wasn't until 4 years ago that it actually happened. And it's like what Taryn said, there was a pull. I'm not someone in my own journey. I'm not someone who does a lot of research or study. Like if I get pulled into a place and invited, I go. So yeah, 4 years ago, I led my first group and it completely transformed my life, transformed my wealth, transformed my leadership. And it started to open this perspective that perhaps there was a lot more to our history, to reality, to my own walk than I knew. And I will say in every trip that I've gone since opens that next piece. And this one, I mean, this one was just, I will say, the best so far. I mean, they've all been amazing, but I think because the world is, and we're going to talk about this a little bit, and maybe you guys have all seen, I mean, there's been some new research coming out showing the sonar under the Giza Plateau and showing that really we have truly just begun to scratch the surface of what I have known since the first time I stepped into the Great Pyramid and in the King's Chamber is an ancient technology. That's what my intuition has shown me and showed me a lot about how it used to operate. And in fact, as we'll go into this presentation and this, opening here that we have, I think you might start to draw some of those conclusions by some of the things that Taryn has discovered. But I will say that something keeps pulling me back, and I believe it's to remember what is here. Ancient Egypt, as it has been told to me, is really a storehouse of our history, meaning like our lost history that we are now remembering, both around our consciousness, around healing, around technology, even wireless technology. Some interesting things about that. And, on this trip, it was particularly about these royal wealth codes and really looking at how the queens of Egypt led and the kind of wealth they had and how did they do it. That was a prayer that I had in my very first journey to Egypt, which was, how did you build this? I want to understand how you led, how you were able to activate this level of wealth. And ever since that, I've been being shown how these incredible empowered women did it in ancient times.
Incredible. Yeah. Incredible. So I probably came here from a different perspective, although probably sort of similar, but different, right? So obviously Corrina asked, would you like to come to Egypt? She's asked me a couple of times. And this time I just said yes straight away. And I knew the reason why I said yes is I felt like I need to understand ancient technology more. Now, as you may know, like inside of Lima Vitae, I don't know do we have guests here, by the way? I'm curious. Do we have any guests in this space? Okay, so inside of Lima Vitae is a lot around bringing through ancient wisdom and ancient technology into the future, right? Into future technology. And so, of course, where would you go on the planet but Egypt to get a better understanding about what it is, starting to follow those different threads again of curiosity. Interestingly enough, when we landed here in Egypt was also when it all kind of came out that there's also potentially some pretty cool things that are under the pyramids as well. And that led me to then start being like, so what else is in this space? What else is in Egypt? What else? Like, what are some of the other reasons around this? And so a lot about what I'm going to even share, this is just my perspective on things that I was able to learn while I was here, some of the stories that obviously some, people have shared with me with inside of this. But I couldn't help but find parallels with even the product, the Luma Vitae bottle that we already have right now. I couldn't help but also be somewhat overwhelmed with like, here is this beautiful bottle. We knew we wanted to make Mother Nature in a bottle, but actually it was even more than that. And so, we'll go a little bit into that as well. Curious, who's been to Egypt that's already on this call? Just curious if you've been already following your threads of curiosity that have landed you here. I know Kirsten, you have, and Alexia, probably
Alexia and Jennifer, they've been with me.
Nice. Yeah, life-changing. Awesome. One of the things I didn't remember this is pretty interesting, right? Yeah. One of the things I didn't remember until I landed in Cairo was when I was asked, was this your first time in Egypt? And I said, well, yeah. No. I said, no, it wasn't. Yeah. I was here 12 and a half years ago. And yeah. And then I just put 2 and 2 together when I got here. I was like, immediately after my trip to Egypt was when I left my corporate job, is when I went into this world of network marketing and affiliate marketing and choosing to really live completely in a freedom lifestyle. And I had never actually put that together, that it was after my trip in Egypt. And so I know that this is a land of great transformation. And so I'm really curious to what the next transformation is, although I did get a few clues about what the next transformation is. Yep. But before we dive in, I just wanted to share with you some, I guess, kind of little interesting things that maybe might just, again, open up your own threads of curiosity. So let me just pull this up. You're not letting me do that. Sounds like someone. Awesome. Okay, so diving into ancient technology, feminine power, and the future of wealth and wellness as we discovered in ancient Egypt. As I said, this will probably end up becoming a little bit of an expanded series. I think the first one will be a conversation starter, and we may do a few more bits and pieces on this, you know, if the community kind of feels called to it. So what if we are not here just to discover something new, but we're actually here to remember something ancient? And that was when Corrina asked me, that was the yes that I got. I was like, cool. So what if we are here to see something ancient and bring that forth into today, right? And what if what we call technology was once known as spiritual science? I've always been very, very fascinated with this, you know, this bridge between science and spirituality. And I'm watching this as the gap between that is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I think we can all, you know, I know recently there was photographs of the protons, right? The entangled protons, and how they look just like yin and yang, right? When you actually photograph them, this is exactly what they look like. I think there's lots and lots of things that we're seeing kind of uncover right now that is really bridging the gap between those two. And I find Egypt to be this incredible place that helps to answer or perhaps help you remember some of that.
I want to speak to that. Well. I want to speak to that because, you know, one of the things that like everyone in the group who came experiences is that when you step into, whether it's the king's chamber or any of the other pyramids or the temples, they're encoded. Okay, so like we have frequency in our bottle. There is frequency in these pyramids and in these temples, and they were used for thousands and thousands of years. I mean, it sounds like a bizarre metaphor, but it'd be like, well, not really, like, I don't know, 100 years from now, maybe this is way evolved, or 1,000 years from now, and someone walked into somewhere and they're trying to figure out what this is, right? And they're like, what is it, right? And they feel something, they drink it, and they're like, whoa, this is what it is. So rather than figuring out things through research or your head, you go through a sensory experience. And that's what I love to do here in Egypt, is to actually not look into, you know, what's been written or what other people say, is to step in and feel the atmosphere, touch the walls, get into a meditative state, ask, what was this place? What did it do? And every time I've gotten an answer on that, which is like all day long in Egypt, it seems to be that later there is some sort of...
Oh, can we mute?
there's some kind of scientific confirmation on that. Maybe it's a year later or 5 years later, or like we just had, has just come out around the sonar that is showing all these things under the pyramids. And so I share that because spiritual science first came out of the mystics, really came out of intuitives, mystics, and then science is able to put evidence around that to then teach it and help, we could say, others who maybe aren't as tapped in to understand how it works and move things forward so we can mass produce technology and move things along. But I just want to share that because, I think it's important to acknowledge that those of us in this community, most of you, I would say, if not all of you, got here because of an intuition, because of a nudge. And maybe you held the bottle or felt it and said, oh, I don't really understand it. I don't understand how molecular hydrogen works. I'm not sure how the frequency works. I know a little bit of the science, but you have an experience and you feel a shift. And so I just share that to kind of further expand, if you've never been here, that perhaps what you see or what you have known maybe is an illusion, or maybe it's just a little piece of what the truth is. And I mean, Taryn and I were talking about this over lunch today, that in the next few years, we both believe that there's going to be so much new information that is going to come out and be revealed. And our timing in being here was not an accident. In fact, it was completely on purpose, that it represents this unfolding of an acceleration of more and more that is going to be revealed. And what's exciting about that is Lume Vitae is so well timed and positioned, and of course, because this is so divinely orchestrated, I believe, for this revealing to show this harmony of what the ancients knew and what we're creating in Lume Vitae.
Awesome. You're going to see a couple of things that I found really blew my mind around how the pyramids were built. This is actually just a small snippet of a few things that, we were kind of explained during our time here. But I think as many of you probably knew, like while we were here, they also potentially discovered through sound waves, these pillars that were under there. And there has been a theory around the pyramids potentially being a battery. And when I started to dive more into this, what I was learning, again, this is just hypothesis, of course, none of this is proven, and we're still in that phase of, uncovering a lot of this. So we're still remaining in that space of real curiosity around it. But what it seemed to be is that, at one point the Nile was, running, well, we know that the Nile was running along the pyramids. That water was being brought into the pyramids. There was a process that happened inside of there where hydrogen was created.
Yes.
And then light was absorbed from the top of the pyramid there as well. So of course I couldn't help be like, this is kind of crazy. Here we are with our bottle. Think about it. There's obviously water that we put inside of there. There's an electrolysis process that happens within the bottom chamber of our bottle. And then of course we have the light frequencies on the top, and there we are making hydrogen as well. And so, that, I guess I was like, okay, I'm going to keep following these threads here, this thread of curiosity that we have. And so I'm going to take through some of these stats or discoveries that we know about the pyramids that completely blew my mind. I hope you're enjoying actually the fact that this is probably a very different segment to what we normally do inside of Lume Vitae. And maybe it resonates, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's opening up a thread of curiosity, but that's all we aim to really do, is maybe just have you think of things in a different space. So, a couple of really cool things, like, that just like how the pyramids were built, every sort of aspect of how the pyramids were built were really in resonance with the Earth's circumference, or the exact diameter of the Earth, or where it was placed particularly on the Earth. And you think, how did they know this thousands and thousands of years ago to be able to create these kinds of things? Even within the King's Chamber, right? There's a particular frequency. It's built in a certain way, where it allows a certain frequency within that chamber. How did they know how to do that? Like, I find that really quite fascinating. You know, there's all different codes with the different golden ratios and pi and all these mathematical codes that have literally been built into the pyramids. Again, I find this so fascinating. You know, look at just the height of the pyramid, you know, 146.6 meters. If you times that exactly by 1 billion, that's the length of Earth to the sun. How did they know that? Like, and then create this thousands of years ago? Again, it's like the pyramid has become literally a celestial calculator. I find this really, really fascinating. Anyone else find this kind of stuff really fascinating? Curious? Nice. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. What else did we find there? This I found amazing because, of course, Luma Vitae is all about light as well, right? All about frequencies, light, and hydrogen. And so here we go, that the latitude of the Great Pyramid sits at 29.9792 north, which, by the way, is the exact same code as the speed of light. Find that pretty curious. This, for me, is a pretty interesting number because it's one of those things where maybe you also have kind of resonance with a certain number. This, for me, 144, I've always had a resonance with this particular number. But what we found is that the Great Pyramid had 144,000 stones, which were polished in a certain way to really reflect pure light. Again, is that by accident? Because there's something really special here, right? Are they leaving us clues? This is what my mind is on at the moment, right? So that's just a few. I know there's actually so many more other things out there, but then I couldn't help but feel like, is there something as well with what we have created here? Of course, we know, you know, we pour in water into our beautiful vessel. Hydrogen is generated through electrolysis process. You know, we have light that is infused from the very top, capturing the light of sunlight on there. You know, the pyramids were built at a magnetic point. We have the Earth's magnetic field inside of our bottle, built with golden ratios. So is our bottle. I mean, it felt like there was a reason why I was following. I was following this curiosity.
I mean, I did a webinar last year and I told everyone, and again, not from research, but from knowing. And I said, this bottle is a pyramid.
Yeah.
And I share that now because I think more people are willing to kind of consider, first of all, that the pyramids were an ancient biohacking tool and so much more, but what we consider to be biohacking and bioharmony today. And that the power of what we have in our hands here is to almost take like these mini pyramids, right? And this is what we can share with others. This is what we can open up to others to, like you have here, not reinventing the wheel, but rediscovering the source. And one of the things, you know, talking to Kim, who was on this trip, Kim Marshall, and she was talking about the impact that the bottle has had on people on her team. And the way she speaks about it is really interesting to me because of course we can go into some of the things like lower stress, better sleeping, you know, inflammation going away, but she likes to ask questions that are more subtle. Like, have you noticed you feel more confident? Have you noticed that you feel more positive about your future? Like these more subtle things. And she's got like 10 questions, and she was telling me that more in this subtle nature. And what she's finding is that there's a correlation. We can at least say that between the bottle and just an overall your life getting better. And what's interesting about that is one of the things that I get when I'm in this space, particularly when I'm in Cairo in front of the pyramids, staying at the Mina House, like my favorite place in the world, is this overall feeling of well-being. Like I just feel at home here, this feeling of peace and well-being. And I share that because one of the things I think the ancient Egyptians knew how to do so well was to create a very different atmosphere of reality, where this was a way of being. It wasn't just, oh, get my biohacking tools and my supplements. And it was a holistic way of looking at the body and the mind and the heart and your spiritual life and relationships. And that was woven in the water, the light, frequency, grounding. They were pillars to life, completely integrated. And you start to sense that. I mean, when you walk into some of the temples, you feel an immediate shift. You can feel this atmosphere of healing, this atmosphere of peace. And so I just think of this sort of greater, like as a community, what we're creating for the world now. When each of us activates our own mini pyramid here and becomes essentially a hub like that, we're creating this coherent field, which makes, many things possible that, are coming in terms of luminaire and like things that we're opening up to for possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit just on, I guess, the thread of curiosity leading in, how are these built? And then just noticing this resonance that, we had with our beautiful already products that we have. And then I guess the next stage of that was, and this is some area we may expand further on. We may find some people that want to really dive into it. I'm by no means any kind of specialist, by the way. I'm just leading with curiosity, right? I'm just leading with this idea of like, something pulled me here to understand better on the ancient technology, understand better of their ancient wisdom, and how could I pull maybe some of that into Luma Vitae, that maybe there's some secrets that they hold to longevity, to wealth, to to community, to expansion. Maybe there's some secrets there, and so hence that's why we came to this space. So this is just a few more threads of curiosity that I thought I would just throw out there. But then the next one was really, I guess, then as we walked through these beautiful spaces and through these beautiful environments, realizing one, how much obviously the ancient Egyptians really prized things like harmony, like beauty, like beautiful scents and gold and all of these wonderful things that you sort of noticed. And what you also noticed is how much the feminine was revered here, and how much strength and beauty and strategy and wealth that they were able to hold. And I thought that was also a beautiful element that sort of came in as well, is realizing, of course, with Luma Vitae, we want everybody to have this kind of abundance, but there's really this new age of feminine leadership that we are seeing really starting to emerge, especially now. This feminine leadership where we are not in that space of acting like men, but we are coming from our own gifts, from our own intuition and how powerful that is, and from the gifts that the feminine is able to bring from that space of leadership. And so that was really, for me, really fascinating as well. And what you noticed with these women, with these other 16 or so women that were there, was how they felt really empowered, in that space. And maybe it was actually just being able to see other women in their light, now giving them permission to allow their light to shine. Again, actually, I just use Kim as an example. She was like, look at these women so proudly putting themselves up on these, etched into these walls with gold and colors, and making sure I'm known to the world. Let me shine brightly to the world. And, it gave her permission to do that. You saw her really expand and really open up again. So, yeah, I love that part.
I mean, one of the reasons I do this portal, let's call it, is to we'll say, unearth an ancient art that is in the feminine space. Intuition, leading from the sensory body, valuing beauty, valuing opulence. These things are a paradigm shift to our world that we're coming out of and stepping into. And so when you walk through and you receive these codes of feminine wealth, which have the feminine leadership in it, and you learn about Queen Nefertiti and Queen Nefertari and Hatshepsut. I always get her name. Little Paula Hatshepsut. We went to her room yesterday, and they were, I mean, it's hard to put into words the level of power they had, sovereignty in their leadership, the wealth that they were operating from as a standard, their ability to lead globally, Cleopatra, right? Another one. And because of that, this reverence for the feminine creation force of life. I mean, we spent at Hathor's temple a lot of time in a birthing room and Isis temple and just this, everything just dedicated to the feminine energy. And so to your point, when you know, women particularly come through this, there's permission. It's like you gain the permission to lean into that and become that woman. And here's the thing is that when you follow that path, things manifest. I mean, there were certainly things that dropped in for people, and that's why I call it a shortcut, because you can come here and have your experience, which is going to be an awakening and body and initiation, and then the ideas drop in. I mean, there's so much we can't even share yet because there's so much that came in. You know, okay, this is what I'm going to create now. I got the answer now, right? But it's because you're allowing yourself to drop into this greater field of consciousness where it always was, but in the busyness of how we exist and not allowing yourself to be essentially in that feminine flow. Yeah, the remembering and the fastest way. Yes. I mean, we did a lot with the honeybees and anchoring in infinity, all sorts of amazing things to really bring ourselves into these ancient ways. And I also believe that's how the technologies are born.
Mm.
You know, we think of the old paradigm in the masculine, but our bodies are designed to be a light technology. And the more in touch with our body and the more in touch we are with our wisdom, our inner wisdom, well, then we birth something new, we evolve something new. So just to connect the dot to these times, you know, we are in this paradigm shift of feminine consciousness being not only remembered, but I'm going to just call it a revaluation of it. Right? We have Taryn Lee here as our CEO and owner of the company. And I think it's important now that we not only make this shift, but start to see that beauty and opulence and this sort of ability to pause and receive, because the feminine is about receiving, is how to build wealth, is how to build a business. We're not looking to have burnout. We're not looking to, you know, we want to build a multi-billion-dollar company. And that gets to happen, but it gets to happen in the way that the ancients did it. I mean, like I said at the beginning of this call, that was one of my prayers the very first trip. How did you do it, Nefertiti? I want to know how you did this in your lifetime. I think we looked up, she only lived to like 44 or something. And yet somehow that was like quantum time, because what she was able, she created the most wealth out of any empire. Take that in. Out of all of Egypt, it was a queen, the most wealth. She built the most. And so I wanted to know how. And what she showed me was to become limitless. And by becoming limitless, which was to not see the limits, not see the blocks, which only can happen first through that feminine creation flow. Then you can see through where the blocks are, and then the way opens with ease, which is what I think we've been doing in Leve Vitae, quite honestly. I mean, it doesn't mean there hasn't been hard work and a lot of effort, a lot of time commitment and money investment. But when you see, it's like this spiral of a quantum leap moving up, right? Which is that is that feminine life force that then opens the door to receive. It's quite powerful when you really start to look at like what's happening in the design. I mean, and the repeat synchronicities.
And the parallels to now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like that was also really remarkable. It's just the parallels to now. And it's, again, walking through those spaces was also like almost like, you know, if you want to know how to build these beautiful empires that have all of this incredible wellness, healing, wealth, all of these bits and pieces, then, you know, here's literally the codes I've written for you in how to really do that. And so this is an area that, you know, we will expand on even over time in really building from that space of feminine leadership. Also, though, we will, you know, it's also done in that beautiful masculine union too, right? You know, you see a lot of that within in this space as well, of how that was like held with both of that. So yeah, it's just it was such a beautiful journey, and definitely there will be more and more that will be revealed as time goes on in terms of why that, you know, all the different like threads that will keep being pulled with the curiosity. But it's just really something that we wanted to share with you, and share with you even as an open conversation. You know, I know that it might not necessarily be in resonance with everyone to speak to this and to explore this and to expand into this, but I definitely know that we definitely have a lot of amazing, beautiful gods and goddesses out there that this is in resonance with, that they are really curious of it, that they would like to expand into this knowledge, that they are curious to what are the codes that are here in these beautiful ancient lands of ancient Egypt. They seem to have something, because for me to have built a pyramid which is the exact length, if you just times it by 1 billion, that gets you to a sun, and that if you were able to place it right in the direct center of the planet Earth, and if you have certain codes that line up with the frequencies or the speed of light, like there is something about that for me is enough to keep following that thread. And I do know that we are seeing more and more being revealed, and I think it's so amazing that it's all about energy, frequency, light, and hydrogen. And for obviously the space of Lumavitae, that's an incredibly exciting space for us. And I think over the next few years we're going to see this unveil and
it's going to accelerate. It's like
very,
tipping points we'll be reaching
very, very quickly.
So Taryn, I don't know if you'd be willing to share, I don't know, a personal highlight.
A personal
handpick something. There were many, but like I'm sure everyone would love to know a personal story or highlight for you on this.
I mean, there was many personal highlights that I had. Of course, you know, Lumavitae is my baby. And that was also something that was quite interesting for me to face as well. But Lumavitae as a business is my baby. And so, you know, I go to this space here, and I'm always looking to how do we make this company bigger, better, more inclusive? How do we make it ensuring that we are really looking at the ancient wisdom and making sure that we're learning from that, and we're making conscious decisions about how we're bringing forward a new reality in our world. You know, with things like AI and all of those bits and pieces that are coming forward, AI can be an amazing tool to really elevate and to really expand humanity, and in fact evolve humanity, if it's pointed in the right direction. If the GPS is set in the right direction, it also has the ability to do complete opposite and destroy humanity as well. And so, you know, I'm very curious with this, you know, for my deep love for the company that we have and the community that we have, and for humanity, you know, the deep love that I have for humanity, and how do we help to build things forward. Curiosity around technology and wealth codes and all of those, and how do we bring that to more people. So that was obviously a huge part of it. And then I will say personally for me, which is something I will share with you that's quite very personal, is that Lumavitae is my baby. And then for the first time, probably ever, I was in the birthing room realizing I've never been a mother. And have I built this empire over being a mother? And then realizing I personally had a limiting belief over, you know, could I build this and be a mum too? And so that was my, I guess, breakthrough moment of being like, maybe that's time to also do that. So yeah, it was.
Egypt surprises you.
That was not what I was expecting at all, I will tell you.
And I felt like I was giving birth in that room. So I don't know what was going on. I was practically on the floor birthing something.
You're having my baby for me.
Energetic surrogates.
Yeah. But again, you know, I've always been a big believer of being able to create your reality and being the master of your reality. And that one decision, you know all, right? One decision can create absolutely anything that you want. And realizing I still had that limiting belief around being able to marry the two of those up together. And then looking at all these queens and saying, well, they were mothers and they had empires and they were able to create something massive on the planet. So why can't I?
That's right. And they were able to do it in this opulence and in a structure, let's call it, that allowed that. And you know, that's part of like restoring those feminine ways where the support is there in the structure. I mean, one of the things everyone kept saying is, you know, I had majority women, there were 2 men on the trip as well, but all the women just felt like, you know, men were serving us and supporting us the entire way. You know, they were cooking for us, making our beds, you know, the whole thing. And so it kind of flipped that sensation of what it feels like to be supported. And but yeah, Egypt is always surprising. I never know what's going to open up for people. It's always a surprise for me as well. But yeah, I mean, I'll be going back. It's already set a year from now. On the equinox, we're going to do at least 4 hours in the Great Pyramid. And I have this vision of splitting the group up. We have some in the King's Chamber and the Queen's Chamber, and we're going to activate that pyramid and see exactly what it does.
Yeah. And I hope there's even more information that gets revealed over that time from then to going back in a year's time. I'm excited to come back in a year's time to see what else gets revealed as well. I know each layer will be another layer and another layer, and we will have new products as well. So I'm curious. I'm already like, how do these products that we've chosen come into play? How is that working? You know, so I'm already really thinking about that of how that
Taryn did some fun things with the Lume Vitae bottle here in Egypt.
I did do some fun things. I was told in one of the chambers, however you get this sort of hit, I was told, go drink the Nile. And I literally said, are you sure? And then I thought, okay, and then I said, well, if you won't drink from the Nile, go get your bottle and take the Nile and then activate it with your hydrogen and then give it back to me. So that's exactly what I did. And we just, so we
it's going really well. Yes, she told me that. She's like, well, I don't think you want to drink the Nile, but it's now been activated in the Lume Vitae.
So that was kind of cool.
And I think you put one of the new products too, like you kind of threw that into the bottom of the pyramid. They might want to know that.
Oh yes. Okay. So pretty cool. I think, as maybe you do or do not know, the next product that we have coming out is our hydrogen tablet, right? And this hydrogen tablet, you know, in fact, I keep discovering more and more about it as I talk to, you know, the different people that are involved in the formulation of it. One was that parts of it come from the Dead Sea. Actually, parts of it comes from the Dead Sea, but it is from the supernova of stars bursting in the Dead Sea. So that was kind of fun to learn. But I took one of the hydrogen tablets that we have, and Corrina ended up taking us down to a very deep hole way under the pyramid that I don't think anyone's really meant to go to, or well,
she had a special permission for it.
Get permission to go down. You have to crawl on your hands and knees down. So, and then I just, you know, it's where the water is, right underneath the pyramid. And I said to Corrina, you know what? I'm just going to throw one of my hydrogen tablets into the water there. And so I did that.
Popped it in there.
And I thought, well, maybe you might do a little magic for us.
So I imagine I had done this really very lovely water blessing, water activation, receiving the memory of the water that was there. And reactivating it, and so we could feel it. And, you know, you have to have inspectors there. And we had a good one this time, which was lovely. But when he wasn't looking, Taryn's like, gonna do it. She popped that thing into the hole. So somewhere under the Giza Plateau is a Lume Vitae hydrogen tablet that is fizzed away. You know, it's bubbling up through the sands now. So you can all think of that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of the journey through Egypt, and just some aspects of that were part of remembering, and also seeing how important water was to ancient Egypt, how they already knew it was a carrier of information, and how healing they knew water was, and how healing they knew water was when it was restructured with sunlight. And so, you know, like, I just think there's so much wisdom that we have to really, you know, keep bringing forth to today as well. So thank you for joining us in really, which was a conversation around Egypt, and some of, I guess, also those threads of curiosity. I hope that maybe tonight there's even been a cool little stimulation of, you know, how were those pyramids really built? How did they know to do it exactly like that, and those angles and all of those bits and pieces? And maybe there is some incredible ancient technology here that we are still yet to discover, that might also lead to more keys of energy, longevity, you know, spaces like that I'm very curious in, and I definitely want Lume Vitae to be a part of. So, and I can tell you, it was remarkable to come with Corrina and see her in her light. You know, that was also something that really, really deeply came from within me as well, which, again, it was that remembering of why you create something. And it was, I love to see women doing the things that they love to do the most. I love to see women lit up. I love to see them creating their magic in their world. And that's also why Lume Vitae was really created, right? Is to, you know, literally light people up, and Corrina was certainly literally lit up the whole way through everywhere she was going, and having an amazing time, and being able to watch her really help transform and bring her gifts to the world was really phenomenal, and how she's impacting so many beautiful people with the ripple effect that she is creating, you know, through her beautiful light that she is shining. And lastly, I will leave is what I really remembered and was confirmed over and over again, was in that group with women, was one, how much women love to be part of community because they're so supportive of each other, and how much women want to shine. You know, they want to shine. They want to be bright. They want to be these beautiful lights, and they want to give that light to the world. And that was also remembering that that's also why Lume Vitae was created. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well, more to come. Let us know when the replay comes out, like in the app, like what, you know, what you're feeling, picking up on. This is a great call to share if there's others, you know, that you know and love. Would you like more? Would you like let us know. Do you want like more? A container of more of this, that we could even maybe find some other people to go deeper into this? They want lots more. Oh, okay, you want more. Awesome. I mean, this is a really nice, fun conversation. I love, and I would love to bring more of you into the conversation. You know, I'm sure there is, you know, there's people far smarter than me in this space to bring into the space. And so I'm sure there's some, it'd be nice if my partner would stop calling. Doesn't know you're on a call. Doesn't know you're on a call, so he's calling me. Anyway, that's probably a great time to close. Yes, we may hold a Lume Vitae event in Egypt at some point, but for now, I have the bells to leave. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, we'll drop the replay in there. And if you want to keep this conversation going, we're happy to contain this and have this conversation going for those that it really, really resonates with. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being with us as we are here in Egypt, closing out our journey together in Egypt. All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.